welcome to this little video. We're going to do for you a brief overview of the network and the configurations within. Not going to give too much detail about the network itself, just the configurations within the devices across the network design. So we're going to start with our router. We'll jump straight into the router CLI, and also remember I need to shift these console up to the top of the screen so that you guys can see them. You'll see here straight away, and this will be the same on every device. I don't want to go over and over it. This is our message of the day banner, just a warning to anyone trying to access the network. And as soon as we access the CLI, we are asked for our password immediately. So that's our administration password, and then when we use the enable command to enter the privileged executive mode, we're prompted for our second password, which we can enter there. So that takes us straight inside the router CLI now. The router itself is set up to handle DHCP on the network, assigning IP addresses to all of the different subnets throughout the network, of which there are 5, 6 including the router. So initially, the first thing we're going to do is we shall show IP DHCP pool, and that will display all of the IP address range pools that have been configured on the router to allow for IP addressing throughout the network. You'll see the schemes we've used are they look very similar. So for example, our router is on network 192.168.0.0, and you will notice that on there is a .1. That is the first available IP address on that subnet, and that is a default gateway for the router. So as we drop down through, you'll notice here we've got 192.168.10. This one's 192.168.20, and these numbers are relevant to the VLAN that they are on. So VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30 behind there, and VLAN 40, and then we've got VLAN 50 for the server. So each of these pools has a total of 254 usable IP addresses. The 256 originally, the first and the last, are used for the network address itself and the broadcast message. So that really is the router. It does support NAT as well, which is network address translation protocols, which allow for all of these different devices and their IP addresses to sit under one public IP address on our gateway router, our edge router, and that public IP address is all that's seen from outside the network. So that is first defense for the network. Slide down to our core 3 switch. We'll open that up. So the core 3 switch is responsible for our VLANs and managing the inter-VLAN routing, which is controlled using access control lists. We'll take a look at those now. So again, we're prompted for that password, prompted for the second password, and we're in. So we're going to show the VLAN brief first off. That'll show us the VLANs that are on the network. As I said, 5 of them, 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50, relating to the various subnets throughout the network. And then what we'll do from there is we'll drop down and we'll have a look at the access control lists. Show access lists. These appear to be huge amounts on here. Essentially, these aren't all applied. We can pick and choose and apply whichever one we want to use in whatever situation using the access group command. I'm just going to pick on this one here, which is our one that is in place currently, and this is assigned to VLANs 30 and 40 and works on the inbound traffic. So if we drop down to this permit IP line, we can see it permits IP 192.168.30.0 to speak directly with 192.168.40.0. Below that, it's the complete opposite. Also allows for 192.168.40.0 to speak to 192.168.30.0. You may have noticed here that the subnet masks are different when we look at this. That's because these are in fact known as wildcards, and they are what is required when you are using access control lists. Drop down a little bit further to these 2 lines, and you'll see that deny IP any command, so that denies any access at all for VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 onto VLAN 30 and 40. That's how our access control lists work, and we use those with the command. We assign those with the command extended access group, and then we just assign whichever of these access control lists we want to use. So our network itself is broken down into 4 departments. As I said, VLAN 10, VLAN 20, 30 and 40. These two, 30 and 40, have inter-VLAN routing between them, and 10 and 20 have inter-VLAN routing between them, but neither 10 nor 20 can talk to 30 or 40, and vice versa. Reason for that is the sensitive nature of the data that's passed around between these two networks. There is no need for a sales and marketing team to be able to access that information. So that's the overview there. Let's drop down to the layer 2 switches. We'll use this one. Again, got to try and remember to lift these screens so you can see them. So prompted for that password. We use the enable, and we're prompted for the second, and we're in. Okay, so layer 2 switches, basic configuration of these, their job is to sit inside a VLAN and switch. That is it. They're configured as trunk ports between the layer 2 switch and the core switch, the layer 3 switch. So this is a trunk port, allows data to travel in whichever direction at multiple times at the same time, if you like. And then from the layer 2 switch down to the devices are configured as access ports. That is all that's required of those. So if we just use the show running config, I think on these layer 2 switches, that gives us a really good overview of everything. Gives us a chance as well just to look at the fact that we've got the encryption there set in place for all of the administration passwords, and it's the same on every device. So we will just drop down through here a little bit, and we can see those switch port trunk set there. Allows for VLAN 10, which is obviously this VLAN, and VLAN 50, which is the server. As you drop down through, you will see that we have switch port mode access and access port set, and that's they're all on VLAN 10. Obviously, these are the different ports they relate to. So that is these connections down to the end devices. That pretty much is the layer 2 switch. I want to just quickly show you that if we jump onto, I don't know, let's just pick a machine down this end. Let's go for this one. If we go to the command prompt, you can see I've already been firing stuff around on this machine. So let's go and we'll try and ping 192.168.10.6. So we'll fire that off, and you will see that the result is destination host unreachable, and that is thanks to the access control lists. However, if we go ping 192.168.30.6, you'll see we get the data replies. So the bytes come back again, and they can communicate with each other. That is that. Let's jump very quickly onto the WAP. These are configured using GUI. They don't have an option for CLI, so we just basically give these a display name. We jump onto the port here. We can see this display name there as well. Use the same display name as the SSID. Our range coverage is here, and we're operating on 2.4 gigahertz. So we drop down to security. We've got WPA2 PSK security protocols in place that are part of this device, and they are the highest of the security features that this device supports. On top of that, we have AES encryption. AES encryption is industry standard, highly recognized as a very, very good encryption standard, and I'm sure you can read some more on that yourself. We have the passphrase in place, which in this case is sales and marketing. So that is the configuration on the WAP, and if we jump off of that and have a look at our laptop, just to see, because we can see that the laptop is indeed connected. We've got that set to DHCP. If we go into the interface here, we can just see that we've got the same passphrase and we've got the same SSID using the same security and the same encryption method, and that allows us to connect these two together. So that will pop back up in just a second now. I'm back out of the GUI. There you go. And that is the overview of the network. There is a couple of fault finding exercises and resolutions that I just want to run through quickly with you that will be coming along in just a second. Great stuff. So let's get looking at some fault finding exercises. In this particular situation, this scenario, we have our port, our FA Fast Ethernet 02 port on the layer 2 switch is administratively down. So we're going to check this. We're going to enter the CLI, go through the privileged executive, enter our password, and then we'll enter, before we enter that, actually, we'll do the show IP interface brief. And as we can see, currently the Fast Ethernet 02 port is administratively down. In order to fix this, it's quite a simple method to get around this. So we enter the config T to enter the global commands, and then we enter the interface itself, interface FA02, enter that, and we simply type the command no shutdown. As you can see, port is now set to an up state, and just to confirm that, we will again run the show. We need to exit the interface first, so come out of the interface, out of global commands into privilege executive, and we'll use the show IP interface brief command again. And as we can see now, Fast Ethernet 2 is back up and running. Very simple exercise, a common fault found in networks with ports being administratively down. Quick, simple exercise done. Okay, so we're going to have a look at a second fault, common fault, and very easy to isolate and look at. As you can see over here, our smartphone will not connect with our WAP access point in the marketing department. So we're going to open the WAP itself, go into the configuration, check the display name. We're going to go to the port, and we're going to have a look at the marketing, and we're going to have a look at the password, and straight away we can see there is a typo, suspected typo in the passphrase. So we will come out of that, we'll enter the smartphone, go to the configuration in here, we'll look at the port on here, and we can see that indeed the passphrase is incorrect. There is a single G on the end of this particular passphrase. So we go back to our WAP, back to our port, and we simply remove the typo, close that down, and in just a second that will reconnect. There you go, and we are back up and running.